Hot topic here on Wednesday's edition of Morning Kick Around. I'm Robert. He's Jason. Question for you. Why did United States Soccer feel the need to publish a 4-minute video with head coach Mauricio Pochettino talking about Pochettino? Oh, excuse me. I saw your eyebrow. The mispronunciation eyebrow went up. Why did U.S. Soccer publish a 4-minute video about playing with pride?
Yeah, it's a little bit more. It was framed up. If you do not follow U.S. Soccer on YouTube, it was framed up as kind of a Gold Cup preview interview with Mauricio Pochettino, the head coach
Which is
of the
months
USMNT
away.
national, which is months away. It's certainly not now. It's not happening today, right? It's not happening next week. It's not happening even within the next month. It is happening a ways off, and it is a 4 minute and 47-second interview, which is so short. Like, what can you get into in 4 minutes and 47 seconds? Very little. It is titled "Sit Down Interview with Mauricio Pochettino on CONCACAF Gold Cup and More." That's okay. 4 minutes of interview. Why are we doing this? I'm going to play for you a selected portion of that interview. But before I do, I think this might explain why we got that interview. And this is going to be Bruce Arena on the Unfiltered podcast with Landon Donovan and Tim Howard. They were talking about old times. They were talking about, the beginnings of MLS and Bruce's playing career and some other things and his attitude. But here is Bruce Arena talking specifically about the state of the U.S. men's national team and some issues that have come to the fore in our discussion about the
Every
U.S.
national team in the world, the coach is usually a domestic coach.
Yeah.
And I think when you have coaches that don't know our culture, our environment, our players, it's hard. And and listen, I'm sure our coach is a very good coach. Coaching international football is different than club football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a completely different job. People ask me all the time, "Hey, what did you like this or that? What you like better?" I go, "They're two different jobs.
Totally. Yeah.
They're two different jobs, and people don't understand that." Yeah. And I think when you're a national team coach, you need to know your environment. You need to know the animals you're coaching. Yeah. And we're lacking that. And if you're an American coach in the U.S. team, you know the culture, you know the pride, and how important the national team is. I think when you bring in somebody from the outside, they don't understand it, and especially in our country, because we're so different. So, you ask me, do we lack that kind of pride? I mean, I'm watching. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that we can't beat Panama and Canada. It was shocking to me. And I don't want to be disrespectful. I want them to do great in the World Cup. There's no question about it. But we only have a year left now.
Yeah.
The time is running out, and they got to get going.
Okay, so that's Bruce Arena. Was he taking shots, Rob? Do you think he took some shots in there? Or was it was he trying to be even-handed, but it still came across as pretty critical of the guy in charge of the national team?
That's a very Bruce Arena comment there. I think saying something in a very padded and gentle way, but the actual underlying point is actually pretty harsh and hard-hitting. Like, in a sense, in a very kindly way, I almost think that he was saying that he's Pochettino's out of the depth, to be honest, and like he's a beast not meant for this world, sort of a statement.
This idea of American soccer exceptionalism, right? It's a hard one because people like Bruce say it, and occasionally we'll have that debate when there's a change in the national team head coach. It is a question. Does this person need to be American to understand American players? Now, there's also that factoid that gets pulled out, which is that no foreign coach has ever won a World Cup. It's always a domestic coach. But of course, there's only 6 countries that have ever won a World Cup to begin with.
Yeah, so the narrow cast it a little bit there.
And all of those countries prioritize this sport at a level that we do not in the United States. So I think that's comparing apples and oranges, and I think that's a red herring you shouldn't be pulled aside by. This thing, though, the idea that you need to understand the mentality, I don't know. Maybe there is something to that. And or maybe it's not even necessarily the mentality that you need to understand, because who understands playing for the shirt and bleeding for your country more than an Argentinian, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it is that thing about you don't connect directly with the country if you are not a citizen or if you haven't lived there. I think Jurgen Klinsmann might get a little bit of a pass on this because he lived in the United States for a very long time, right? And he was sort of Americanized in a way that Pochettino clearly is not. Now, again, this is sort of the thing that, and I don't know that the timing of this is necessarily connected. I don't want to say that U.S. Soccer put out a 4-minute video or 4.5-minute video of Mauricio Pochettino talking about pride, which you're going to hear in a second, because Bruce Arena said this, because Bruce is not the first person to bring this up. After the Nations League fail, there was lots of discussion about a lack of pride on the part of the U.S. men's national team. But clearly that reflects back on Pochettino if he's the guy in charge. If the team isn't playing with pride, why aren't they playing with pride? And Mauricio Pochettino, why aren't you getting them to play with pride? And so again, I don't know that these are connected, Rob, but the timing seems very coincidental.
Well, you drew a parallel between these two clips, and do you think that United States Soccer Federation is sensitive enough?
Yes.
To these voices, especially the Landons, the Howards, the Bruce. I think that, they hold a lot of weight within those halls.
I have run afoul of U.S. Soccer. I'm not going to say I have a bad relationship right now. I kind of don't have a relationship with U.S. Soccer at the moment. I don't directly interact with U.S. Soccer the way that I used to. I used to know people over there. We used to go back and forth. I would get guests on my radio show. It was a thing. You're working hard to figure out how to grow the sport in America. You're kind of doing it together. Now, I was never going to pull my punches, right? And I think U.S. Soccer has a pretty strong and pretty well-won reputation of being protectionist about their wanting to control the message, being heavy-handed when it comes to who is allowed to talk to the media and how they're allowed. Now, there are some people that, I think as long as you are fairly respectful, you're going to get in the door. But it doesn't mean that they're always going to respond well. And I do think, and I don't know that this video is necessarily Pochettino doing this. Could be somebody else at U.S. Soccer, and things have changed a little bit in the last couple of years. But U.S. Soccer absolutely has been known for being like, oh, how dare you? And so let's hear from Pochettino, because you tell me, and I've included questions, and I've edited this a bit because there's a part where it's just like the Gold Cup's a challenge. Yeah, we know, Mauricio, it is. But I've included some questions because of the framing. So here we go.
Build a competitive mindset in the players against opponents that might be perceived as underdogs.
The mindset must be there, because the right mindset, no? Because I think we need to compete for our flag, our country. And it's not enough sometimes to come and to play. What we want to add to this group, the player, and to the team, is the possibility to optimize every single area. But this area is really important because I think provide you the possibility to be in your peak and perform in your best. If not, only is talent that is sometimes useful, because if you don't have the right mindset to approach the game, that is why we are going to work, and also we need to be intelligent in the way that we are going to select the characters. No select only talent and names, if not to have a good balance, to provide the team the right characters to be really competitive.
I'm going to pause it there. There's another question, and we'll get to it. But that sounds very much like he's just responding directly to this idea that he's not picking players who really care about playing for the U.S. men's national team. Am I wrong?
No, not at all. And I think it's notable to see that obviously top level managers and coaches of all stripes use their words very intentionally. And at the opening of this answer, he says "we" and "our" about half a dozen times, really trying to bring himself remove any sort of a gap between him as a coach and him as the coach of the national team. He's trying to connect those with those words.
I would also like to acknowledge here, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but we've clearly got some sort of strange green screen backdrop thing happening here, right?
Does this look impromptu to you?
It does, right? It's between two ferns with Mauricio Pochettino is what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's sitting there. We've got some weird decoration that doesn't really see. I don't understand what's happening here in that regard. Like, unless this is just literally, I don't know where he was. Like, he might not be in the United States of America, but they said, "Hey, Poch, we need you to do a video because we got to kind of counter this idea that there's an issue of selecting players for pride with the U.S. men's national team, and they popped him in front of a green screen and they threw up you listen to the audio even, right? This does not feel like a production. It feels like we just got a camera. Let's just do something real quick. Let's continue.
What factors will you consider when picking the roster?
At the moment so far, we wanted to know as much of the player as possible, players that were playing in abroad of MLS, and then MLS player. And I think after nearly 1 year, I think we have good knowledge about every single player that maybe we need to discover and to also to see. But I think we have a better now picture about our players.
What will success in the Gold Cup mean to you and this group of players?
It's to compete well. It's to match the opponent, because the opponent always, when play against USA, have the motivation, and to give their best. And we need to feel the same. We need to match. We need to match all this in this area. But always it's about to win. Even when you lose, I think you can lose, but I think showing that you are competitive and you deserve maybe to win, and sometimes for many factors you cannot win. But I think it's important for us to start to be serious in the way that we will take the competition. It's not only to come here for us or for the player and to say, okay, we are going to spend less time in my country, or I'm going to enjoy playing. No, it's about to fight for your proud, for the people that would love to be in your position, for million of kids that they are going to see us and dream to be one day there. Is this type of responsibility and commitment we need to show in different way that what we did in the last time in Los Angeles.
You tell me that doesn't sound like a guy who's directly responding to criticism that came out of that Nations League.
I don't think you have to read too far between the lines. And then going back to the production value of the video itself, I mean, that to me, I feel like he is in the corner of the lobby where he was. They threw it's either a green screen or so just like some green uplighting that could just be the hotel light. And then I don't think he even has a lav mic on. I think that's the camera mic. Yes. And then a comment in here is like a press shirt would have been nice. This definitely seemed impromptu, and he's even holding his glasses in his hand like he was like walking through the lobby going about his business. And like, Poch, hey, why don't you take a seat and we'll get a couple minutes of you answering a couple questions from our press officer here.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that was a press officer. It could have been somebody on his staff. It could have been an American who was attached to his staff. As he does the job or whatever that is in the moment. I mean, is he in Europe somewhere scouting players, going to games, watching U.S. men's national team players do their thing? He might be, and that's part of it. I do think it's telling also that when I went over to YouTube and I saw this and it popped up on my feed. I mean, I wasn't like, oh, what's happening on the U.S. soccer channel? I saw this on my feed because I follow U.S. soccer on YouTube, and I looked at the comments, and like the third comment, which I think is very much indicative of the state of things in American soccer fandom. The third comment was something like, you haven't even talked to Nathaniel Brown, who is a German-American player right now at Eintracht Frankfurt. He's a left back. He's 21. He's like, you haven't even talked to Nathaniel Brown. Don't talk to us until you've made that contact, right? Basically, kind of accusing Mauricio Pochettino of failing to do his job, right? That the allegation is, and look, I don't believe for a second that Mauricio Pochettino is unaware of Nathaniel Brown. Okay, I don't believe that for a second. I think he's a smart guy. He's a football coach. He knows all the players that are eligible for the United States who might be there to be called up. By the way, should be mentioned also, Nathaniel Brown has played with the German U21s. So maybe a la Jermaine Jones, until it's pretty clear he's not going to play for Germany, he may not be eligible, or he may not be available to the United States of America. So I don't know. So, but this is again, the mentality thing has really seeped in. This idea that the U.S. men's national team has lost the spirit and the fight has really seeped in, and it does seem as though messaging is important to U.S. soccer at the moment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that could have been this whole like naturalized or domestic coach could have been nullified with good results, right? It's like, oh, foreign coaches hadn't won the World Cup before, but he's doing great, so that's out of mind. But with the less than mediocre, the probably would you call his start of his tenure disastrous, borderline disastrous,
borderline disastrous, borderline disastrous? Yeah, I mean, look, it almost seems unfair because there just hasn't been that many opportunities for him, right? It's not as though he's got 30 games under his belt and we can judge him by that, right? It's is the sample size. Does that mean we should give him a pass on some level? But it's enough of a start, and it's not even what 8 months into this? Not even
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of his actual first opportunity, coach the U.S. men's national team. What was that? November window? October? Was it October? I don't. Again,
it's murky.
It just happened, and yet I still feel like this has been really bad to start. And I don't know if I'm being unfair to him. I don't know if anybody else could have done better, I guess is my point.
I think this all really puts the focus on what a weird and strangely important Gold Cup it's going to be this summer.
I know.
Usually the Gold Cup can just be like a great way for the B team or some people to work their way into the team or this or that. But with the Club World Cup muddling things, the World Cup being next year and him probably being on the hot seat already in a way, like if the timeline with the World Cup wasn't there, that's almost his finish line as it is now. But if the Gold Cup is a crash and burn dumpster fire, if they go out in the Gold Cup or the semis or something, don't even make it to the final, is there another conversation to be had? Another coaching search coming?
Maybe. And I know Tim Weah will not be available. I can assume that means Weston McKennie won't be available. I don't know what Gio Reyna's situation at Dortmund is going to be, although I'm not sure I'm counting on Gio Reyna that much anyway. These are the teams that have Americans who are involved in the Club World Cup. Those players are going to play in the Club World Cup. They're not going to play in Gold Cup. So again, but at that same, like, again, it's like, oh, well, give Mauricio Pochettino a bit of a pass. He won't have some of his best players. But at the same time, this is what coaches have to deal with. Sometimes your best players are not available. Injuries happen. Other things happen. You might go into a World Cup and one or two key players will be injured or unavailable. What do you do then? Figure it out.
It'll be very interesting to keep our eye on the national team this summer. How does it go in the Gold Cup?